Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It's your boy, Pigskin Pete. Happy college football. What's today? Tuesday, Monday, Tuesday. I don't even know what day it is. To everybody, thank you all for joining me on this fine Tuesday evening to watch the latest episode of How Can the Playoff Committee Convince Us That What They Are Doing Is Legit show. Before we get into these rankings, both last week's and the projected for this week, and talk about all of that, a couple of things. I promised somebody on Twitter, and I usually don't keep my promises. I'm going to do it this time, though. I promised somebody on Twitter. This guy is, I think he's a Clemson blogger. His name is the Fifth Quarter College Football. So you can follow him on Twitter, FIFTH quarter CFB. And they do a blog show over there about college football, and I'm assuming Clemson, so go check them out. The other thing is, before I forget, all you Clemson fans, something's wrong with my headphones here. All you Clemson fans that don't know, go to the link in the description. Get your cycling out t-shirts. All right. There's t-shirts, there's hoodies, there's V-necks, there's crew necks, there's all kinds of different colors. Make the coots mad for Christmas. Get your wife. If you're a woman, get your husband, maybe your brother, your sister, or maybe even just for yourself. Go get those. I got my hoodies and my shirts the other day, and they're amazing and fantastic, believe me. Last but not least, so I'm sure a lot of you have seen the video I posted a couple of days ago regarding Dabo Swinney's press conference that triggered the entire college football world, apparently. A lot of mixed reactions, both on his comments and on my video. A lot of people, of course, Clemson fans agree with what he says, right? I mean, that goes without saying. We love when he triggers the media and the college football world. A lot of people outside of Clemson, especially outside of the SEC, maybe in the Big Ten or the Big 12, fans from those teams agree with him because I think they also feel this perceived SEC bias. Anyway, none of that matters. So Mark Rogers had a video that day, criticizing Dabo, calling him a whiner and a crier, and he read through the transcript of his comments. I also made that same video that I made on the same day. Well, Mark Rogers invited me onto his show yesterday, and we had a good discussion about it. So everyone go over to Mark Rogers' channel and check out the video and the debate that we had about this situation. It was a great debate, and believe me, there's nobody I respect. Oh, I don't say nobody, but there's several people I respect on YouTube, but nobody's a harder worker than Mark Rogers, and I really like that guy, and I want to thank him for inviting me on the show. It was a great talk there. All right, so let's go ahead and look into the comments here before we start talking about football. RG. Jacob Cunningham. Hey, man, what's up? What's up with you? Ohio State fan, OHIO. LSU is overrated. Mario Thomas. Mike Nixon. Happy holidays to you too, sir. Lamar Stills. What channel is it showing on? It's on ESPN. Cody Latchney. Bro, what a day. Yeah, he, for anybody who doesn't know, Cody is a Carolina Panthers fan and blogger and YouTuber. And he's referring to the Ron Rivera firing. And I will get into that in just a second. I haven't had a whole lot of time to process that, really. I mean, I'm happy that he's fired. Don't get me wrong. As far as who the next coach is going to be, I haven't spent a whole lot of time thinking about that yet. But Christian Ballard, my man, one of my favorite Alabama fans. Merry Christmas, Pete. Merry Christmas to you too, sir. To Goat Watson, Clemson, Carson, Andrew. Mr. Troll. Little C7, what's up with you too, sir? Tiger Nate is in the house. Mike Nixon, Pigskin. I know you're a Panthers fan right now. Your thoughts on Ron Rivera? All right, yeah. A lot of people wanting to know about that. Country Tigers in the house. How you doing, sir? I'm sure if you're here, you're amazing and fantastic. But I already know that you are. P Digits. Leonard Clements, Complete Control, and Captain Trips. That looks like everybody that's in here at the current moment. All right, before I get into the college, I'll just address this run. Hold on, let me turn this TV down. I mean, I'm sure you guys can hear it if I can hear it that loud. The Carolina Panthers firing Ron Rivera. I'm not surprised about this. There was a lot of media pressure and fan pressure to do so. I have been on the bandwagon for firing Ron Rivera since last season, since before the season even started. I don't know. Cody could probably tell me. I don't know what his lifetime record at Carolina was, but it wasn't good. He did lead them to a Super Bowl. He made a couple of playoff appearances. Other than that, was pretty underwhelming. I think he had more losing seasons than he did winning seasons. The whole Cam Newton debacle, and I want to make this clear. I blame the whole Cam Newton debacle on Ron Rivera. He was injured last year, and they continued to play him for 6 or 7 games after his injury and made his injury worse. Then they continued, after he went through a surgery in the offseason, to play him in a meaningless preseason games, which really most of these veteran quarterbacks, especially ones that have injury histories or are coming off of a major surgery, do not play in the preseason. Then he has this injury to his foot. Then, even though he injures his foot in the preseason, they play him in the first couple games. He injures it worse, ends his season. I blame this on the coaches, not the players, all the time, because Cam Newton would play with 2 broken shoulders and 2 broken feet and 2 broken legs if you let him. It's their job not to let him. It's really much. It's that simple. So I blame Ron Rivera for that. And by the way, I also blame Ron Rivera for just the terrible play you see on the field. They have a MVP caliber running back. They have a Hall of Fame linebacker in Luke Kuechly, who's, I don't know if he's in the prime of his career. Maybe he's towards, maybe he's on the downside of that. I don't know. But you have those two, you have a great team. We have the best group of receivers, even though there's nobody that's elite like a Julio Jones or a DeAndre Hopkins on the outside. We have a really good receiver core. And we lose to the worst teams in the NFL week after week after week. I mean, this is what happens. So I'm not surprised he's fired. I'm glad he's fired. As far as the next coach goes, I don't know. I'm seeing a lot of Lincoln Riley and a lot of other names thrown out there. First of all, I don't think Lincoln Riley is looking to leave Oklahoma. I know he's being brought up for a lot of NFL jobs. Mainly, the one you hear the most is the Cowboys, right? Jerry Jones is going to fire the Clapper. Jason Garrett after the end of this season, most likely, unless they win a Super Bowl, which isn't happening. So Lincoln Riley is high on that list. I don't know. I could be completely off base with this. I don't know why Lincoln Riley would leave Oklahoma to go take an NFL job, especially with Jerry Jones. He's got job security at Oklahoma. They're winning a lot of games. He's eventually going to be one of the he's already one of the highest paid coaches in college, but he'll eventually, over the next couple of years, extend his contract and get raises to where he's making $9-10 million a year. And they're not looking to run him out of Oklahoma. So why would you go to the Cowboys, where if you have 2 or 3 bad seasons, they're going to kick you to the curb? So I don't know. I don't know. I can't get inside of Lincoln Riley's head. I don't know what he values more. The other name is Dabo Swinney. He comes up in a lot of NFL coaching jobs. Dabo Swinney's not leaving Clemson anytime soon, I promise you. It's just not going to happen. He's making close to $10 million a year. He's at the top of the college football world. He's already said multiple times that he prefers the college game to the NFL game. So I just, unless Clemson all of a sudden just goes into the toilet, which isn't happening, over the next 3 or 4 years, he's not leaving Clemson within the next few years. It's just not going to happen. So let's see who else has joined the stream since my last rant. What's up, SEC Dog? SEC Dog's big mad at Dabo. Clemson Jacobs in the house. Yeah. The legend. Uncle Lou, Kleenex for Dabo. You're going to need a lot of that Kleenex, sir, if you meet Clemson in the playoffs. So maybe you could borrow some from Dabo. Darren McCardle. Yeah. All right, so now that, what time is it? We got 10 minutes until this show starts. I'm going to go ahead and put up on the screen here last week's rankings right here on the left-hand side of the screen. So they had Penn State 9, Baylor 9, Minnesota 8, Oklahoma 7, Utah 6, Bama 5, Georgia 4, Clemson 3, LSU, Ohio State 1. Here were my projections as of yesterday. For some reason, I feel like it's later than Tuesday. Maybe I'm in the Matrix. I don't know. Anyway, so this is my projections of what they're going to do tonight. Now, listen, 10, 9, and 8 right here. I'll go ahead and give you the disclaimer right now. I'm not confident about 10, 9, and 8 at all. From 7 down to 1, I'm pretty confident that I'm going to nail it. I think I'm going to nail it. Unless there's some sort of extenuating shock circumstance that they throw a wrench in there. But Florida 10, Wisconsin 9, Alabama 8. Now, I don't feel confident about this. As a matter of fact, the more I think about it, I'm thinking they might drop Bama lower than Wisconsin. I think that there's a good chance that Alabama is going to be either 9 or 10. But anyway, so you flip-flop these. Here's what I'm going to say for sure. I feel like Florida, Wisconsin, and Alabama are going to be in the top 10. I don't know what order it's going to be in. It could be in any order. And people have been asking me, why do I feel like Florida is going to be in the top 10? Well, because they've been 11 for 3 weeks now, and a couple of teams ahead of them lost. Obviously, Alabama lost and Minnesota lost. So I think they've been looking to move Florida into the top 10, and this is their opportunity to do that. Wisconsin, obviously, is going to move in the top 10 with a dominant win over Minnesota, who is a top 10 team last week, and they were sitting there, whatever it was, 12 or 13 last week, so they'll move in there. The question is, how far will Alabama fall? I don't think they'll fall as far as people think they will. Some people think they'll fall outside of the top 10. I doubt it, but we'll see. 7, 6, and 5, Baylor, OU, and Utah. This is simple to me. I mean, unless I'm missing something here, right? I mean, Baylor was 9 last week. They're obviously going to jump Minnesota and Oklahoma. Minnesota and Alabama because they both lost, so they'll move up to 7. Oklahoma at 6 because they have a head-to-head win against Baylor. Simple. And then Utah at 5 because Utah was ranked ahead of both those teams last week, and all they did was go out and dominate again last week. So why would they fall behind them? So that's my reasoning for that. And then, of course, 4, 3, 2, and 1. I just don't see any reason why they'd switch any of these. So you had a dominant win from Georgia over the Nerds in Atlanta in that dump of a stadium. By the way, can somebody send a power washing team? What was the name of that stadium? I forget it's on the tip of my tongue. Anyway, that stadium they got there in Atlanta, that high school stadium that Georgia Tech has. When you look at, I've never been there, but when you look at it on TV, they look like the dirtiest bleachers in all of college football. I mean, there's mold growing. You can see the dripping of the mold. It's brown and discolored. Look, I'm not saying that Georgia Tech's not going to go out and spend $50 million or $100 million renovating a stadium anytime soon. But for Christ's sake, get a power washer in there with some bleach. I mean, it's pitiful what it looks like on TV. I don't know. Maybe somebody that's been there can tell me. Clemson dominates South Carolina like we all knew they would. I mean, that score could have been 50-3 or 70-3. We took our starters out. And anyway, we all know how that ended. So Clemson won't move. Clemson won't move even after this week. Clemson's going to sit right there at 3. Unless Georgia wins maybe this week against LSU. That might be a reason that Clemson might move down or something. I don't know. But anyway, Clemson at 3, LSU at 2. LSU goes out and dominates a mediocre Texas A&M team. And Ohio State dominates a very, very good, very, very good, according to everybody else but me, Michigan team on the road. So I don't see any reason why they would move. So there you have it. We'll see how close I can get. Yeah, Bobby Dodd Stadium. That's right. Yeah. Forgive me for not knowing what that dump of a stadium is named. Dabo going to be mad. Don't have him number 1. Heated Tater won't consider you a true Clemson fan. First of all, I could care less if Clemson is 2, 3, 1, or 4. I really could care less. And I can promise you, Dabo probably doesn't really care either. He's just making you think he does. You think Clemson wins 28+ against Virginia? I don't know. That's a hard call. It's a hard call. Yeah, I do. I mean, because they've done it against everybody in the ACC, other than North Carolina, obviously. But since North Carolina, they've blown everybody off the map. And I don't see that changing this week, especially since they're in championship mode and they're hitting their stride right now. The only reason I would say that wouldn't happen is if they get up by 28 points in the second half and put their third string in and let Virginia score a couple of trash touchdowns. So if somebody put a gun to my head and said, hey, you got to bet on this game either way, I'd definitely take Clemson with the points. But otherwise, I wouldn't do it. Isn't it the oldest college football stadium in the country? Are you talking about Bobby Dodd? I don't know. Looks like it. Ohio State versus LSU for the Natty, and it's back-to-back, or back and forth down the wire history maker. What's up, Radiant Noah? Complete Control says Michigan is awesome if you like nasty winters and horrible football teams. Yes. What's up, Mark Carty? If UGA beats LSU, the rankings should look like this: 1, Ohio State; 2, Clemson; 3, Georgia; 4, LSU. Yeah, I had a debate with. No, it wasn't a debate, really. Probably a bad choice of words. I called into Uncle Lou's show sometime last week, I think. It was one of his live shows. And I said that if Georgia wins against LSU, they'll probably move up to 1. Now, that's possible. It would depend on what else happens. But he thinks that Georgia would move down to 3 or 2 and play Clemson in the first round, which is probably more likely now that I think about it. Mr. Troll, poor Michigan fans. Yes, it's got to suck to be a Michigan fan. Talisha Myrick says, you is so cool. Thank you. I mean, I know. First of all, I don't know if you're being serious or if you're making fun of me. Either way, I'll take it. M has a lake, though. Michigan has a lake, I guess. Mike Nixon wants me to read his last comment, so I'll do that. Pigskin is sad, bro. I feel a lot of people underrate Clemson. In my opinion, you guys are the defending champs, and I would not be surprised if you guys repeat. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what you. First of all, I agree, but I don't know what you think is sad. I guess you're saying what's sad is their ranking. I don't know. But anyway, here's the way I see it. I still feel the same way that I felt since, I don't know, week 7 or 8. I still feel like Clemson and Ohio State are the 2 most complete teams, the 2 best teams in the country. LSU is right there. Right, LSU can outscore people. And could they catch any of these teams slipping on any given day and beat them? Sure, they could. They're that good. Joe Burrow's a Heisman candidate. He's playing out of his mind. That offense looks unstoppable until, here's the thing we haven't seen. We'll see it this week, though. This is another thing that I'm really looking forward to about this week is watching LSU play a top 5 defense in Georgia because they haven't played one all year. And so we'll see. Now, I still think that they're going to score their points. But LSU's defense has been somewhat suspect for the majority of the year. They've looked a lot better the past couple of weeks. So we'll see. Can Georgia make enough stops on defense to keep their offense in the game, and can they expose LSU's defense to score enough points to keep up with them? I don't know. It's a very interesting debate, and I honestly don't know the answer to that question. Listen, Vegas thinks it's going to be a lot closer. LSU fans are thinking that they're going to blow Georgia out. I don't see that happening. I've seen Georgia's defense, and they are legit. They're as good as any, but they're as good as Clemson. They're as good as Ohio State's defense. They're that good. So I don't see them blowing them out. And if they can keep it close into the fourth quarter, it's anybody's game. So I'm really looking forward to see what LSU's offense looks like against a top 10 or top 5 defense. So we'll see how that pans out this week. Captain Tripp says, you're not worried about Virginia? Well, no, not really. I mean, should I be? RG, Bobby Dodd is the oldest continuously used stadium since 1913, probably because of limited space to relocate. Sure looks like it, too. You know what? I always rag on Miami for playing in the Dolphin Stadium, and some Miami fans agree that they should build their own stadium. Some don't. Whatever your opinion on that is, doesn't matter. But maybe Georgia Tech really should thinking about it playing in the Falcon Stadium, right? It would be a massive upgrade. Now, they wouldn't fill it up. I mean, it'd be half empty, but still, Wouldn't you rather play in the Falcons Stadium, whatever that is, the Mercedes-Benz Dome or whatever that thing is, than play in that dump of a stadium? I would. Would you take Oklahoma over Utah if they both win their respective title games? Sport Gibbs. That's a great question, sir. It would depend on how the title games went. First of all, to answer your question, I think that Utah would get in ahead of Oklahoma if they both win. Unless Utah has some sort of a overtime game or very, very close win against Oregon, and then Oklahoma blows Baylor out, that might be the situation where Oklahoma could jump Utah. Other than that, if all things are equal and they both win close games or they both blow their opponents out, I think they'll put Utah in ahead of Oklahoma. They have them ranked ahead of them now, and I don't see that changing. Do you think if Georgia or LSU lose, both teams stay in the top 4? Yes, I think that if Georgia wins, that LSU and Georgia will both be in the top 4. Yes, I do. If UGA loses, they'll be out. There'll be a 2-loss non-conference champ. Proud Navy Dad SWO. I finally found you on Twitter. Well, how is it so hard to find me on Twitter? Very easy. All right, looks like this show is coming on. I'm not going to read that. You know what? I should have learned my lesson by now. After 2 years on YouTube, I should read these things before I read them out loud. I've caught myself a couple of times and got myself in trouble by not pre-reading these comments before I say them out loud. Country Tiger says he feels the players deserve more credit at Clemson. Well, I agree. I think every other Clemson fan agrees with you, especially ETN. Isaiah Simmons, these guys not being up for these awards is ridiculous. But nobody cares. Plus, I would rather have the big trophy instead of the individual ones. Could we possibly see Hurts versus Alabama in a New Year's Six bowl? That's a good question. I made a lot of troll comments on Twitter about Alabama's on their way to the Belk Bowl or the Outback Bowl or whatever, one of these lower tier bowls. I don't know. That also depends on what happens with Georgia and LSU, right? So if Georgia loses to LSU, Georgia's headed to the Sugar Bowl, most likely. If Georgia beats LSU, that's a different story. That would open the door for Alabama to a New Year's Six bowl. Is it still possible that even if Georgia loses to LSU, that Alabama could still make it to maybe the Peach Bowl? Because the Peach Bowl is an ACC versus SEC matchup. I guess that's possible. I don't know. I haven't really put enough thought into it. But the only way I'd think you'd see Oklahoma play Alabama, which is what people want. They want to see Jalen Hurts versus Alabama. They would have to go to the Sugar Bowl. And the only way that would happen, in my opinion, is if Georgia beats LSU. So anybody who's an Alabama fan, ironically, you're rooting for Georgia if you want to make the Sugar Bowl. Peach Bowl is a semifinal this year, Pete. Yeah, but they still have a Peach Bowl. So they still have the New Year's Six bowls, and they also have the playoff and national championship games. In other words, the national championship is the Sugar Bowl, but they're still going to have a Sugar Bowl, a regular Sugar Bowl. So there'll be 2 games in the Sugar Bowl this year. They'll have the regular Sugar Bowl and then the national championship Sugar Bowl at the end of the year. Yeah, the Peach Bowl will double up. The Sugar Bowl will double up. That's the way that works. All right, looks like it's coming on here. Again, thank you all for joining me. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button. That goes without saying. Do these college football live streams and shows year round. All right, here we go. 25, Oklahoma State. 24, Navy. 23, Virginia moves into the top 25 like I thought they would. Southern Cal, 22. Appalachian State, 21. Appalachian State's a one-loss group of 5 team. Nothing really stands out to me there that surprises me. I mean, I would have Virginia ahead of both Appalachian State and Southern Cal, in my opinion. But it is what it is. All right. 20, Cincinnati. 19, Boise State. 18, Minnesota. 17, Memphis. And 16, Iowa. Again, from 16 to 20, nothing that really stands out to me. Maybe I'm a little bit surprised that Cincinnati didn't fall a little bit further than where they are after that loss to Memphis as a 2-loss group of 5 team. But hey, they're in the top 20. All right, 15 Notre Dame, 14 Michigan, 13 Oregon, 12 Alabama. So, I guess I was wrong there. Wow, Alabama drops from 5 to 12. I am a little bit surprised about that. Now, do I disagree with it necessarily? If they're going to go off of the metrics that they say they do, which is quality wins versus strength of schedule and all that, they played 2 ranked teams, they lost to 2 ranked teams. So I'm not. I mean, I agree with it, but I didn't think that they would do that. A little bit surprised about that. And Auburn at 11. All right, let's see here. We're getting in the top 10. Penn State, 10. This is weird. So this means they're going to have Florida. All right, Florida at 9. So I didn't think they had Penn State at 10. All right, Florida at 9. That means Wisconsin's going to be 8, right? I think. If you're Alabama, it doesn't matter. I mean, your season's over. You're hoping for a New Year's Six bowl game based on what happens between LSU and Georgia in the first place. So it doesn't matter where you're ranked. Wisconsin 8. All right, so I had them at 9. So Bama really screwed up my top, my 10, 9, and 8, which I was, like I said, I was not very confident in those to begin with. Very confident from 7 through 1. So we'll see if I nail those. Of course, now we're gonna drag this out. What's up, Harriet Nix? Outside of top 4 is time. Outside top 10, Firestone time. All right, 7 Baylor. All right, so I got 7 Baylor. Yeah, I think 6 through 1 is going to be pretty simple. Oklahoma is going to be 6. Christian Ballard, you fell to 12, sir. Billy Dawson's in the house. Not losing my mind. Very, very happy. I did not want in the top 4. Billy Dawson is an Alabama fan, and he's saying that he did not want to be in the top 4 to begin with because he didn't think that Alabama's team minus Tua was good enough to compete with the other top 4 teams. He didn't want to see them losing the playoffs, which is commendable. I have heard some people think that somehow Utah is going to jump Georgia. Does anybody think that's going to happen? I don't. I don't really see the reasoning behind it either. I mean, Georgia, yeah, did Utah play maybe a better team than Georgia Tech? Maybe. Debatable. But Georgia beat Georgia Tech, what was it, 52-7 or something? So, yeah, they're not I don't see Utah jumping Georgia this week. I don't see it. Woohoo, Brad 24 will end up playing Bama in the Orange Bowl if we make it there. Wahoo. All right, so he's a Virginia fan. Yes. That is another bowl I didn't think about. No, Alabama's not going to the Orange Bowl. The Orange Bowl is the Big Ten and the ACC. So the Big Ten will get an automatic bid. So the Orange Bowl will be if Clemson beats Virginia, like we think they're going to. Okay, so Virginia will most likely make it to the Orange Bowl, and then it will be either Wisconsin, Minnesota, or Penn State that makes it in there, depending on how highly they're ranked. Glenn McCarthy, Pete, great YouTube channel, Buckeye fan here. Thank you, sir. Stick around. Because if we end up playing the Buckeyes, I've said this before. I'll say it again. Hold on. Here we go. Oklahoma at 6, which is what I said. Got that right. I don't think you're going to see a lot of controversy from 5 through 1. It's going to stay the same as it was last week. Well, I mean, 5. Utah will be 5. Obviously, Alabama was 5 last week. So 5 Utah. And if 4 is Georgia like we think it's going to be, then we know what the rest is going to be. Tiger Nation in the house. Ryan Dunn. There you go. So just like I said, so we know what the other one's going to be. Clemson's going to be 3. LSU's going to be 2. Ohio State's going to remain 1. So there's not going to be any change from from 4 to 1 from last week. And just like I said when I started the stream, I was very, very confident from 7 to 1 in my predictions. I was not very confident from 8, 9, and 10. And, of course, I was wrong in 8, 9, and 10. So that goes without saying. Now I forget the question I was about to answer there. Yeah, so Clemson 3. Bruce Hucks, what's up, man? LSU 2, Ohio State 1. Okay. Here's the other question that I have for you people. And there's still a lot that could happen, but based on the championship games this weekend, we're looking at seeding going into the playoffs. Let's assume, and this is just an assumption, we don't know this is going to happen. Let's assume LSU beats Georgia. Let's assume Ohio State beats Wisconsin. And, of course, Clemson beats Virginia. Will LSU jump Ohio State because Georgia is considered a better win than Wisconsin and they're more highly ranked? Or will Ohio State remain number 1 just based on the fact that they're all playing championship games? I personally, I think that LSU will only jump Ohio State if Ohio State has a close game against Wisconsin. If Ohio State blows Wisconsin out by, say, 3 or 4 touchdowns, which is very possible. Hell, they already did it one time this year, so it's not inconceivable to think that they're going to do it again. In that case, I think that Ohio State will stay number 1. If Ohio State has maybe a 6 or 3 point win over Wisconsin and LSU beats Georgia, I think LSU would jump to number 1, which would completely change the playoff picture, obviously, for the seeding. In that case, if LSU jumped Ohio State, then Ohio State and Clemson would most likely meet in the first round of the playoffs. If Ohio State remains number 1, then it will be a different story. So that matters. Well, at least it matters to me. Because, again, I've said this over and over again, and I'll continue to say it. I'd rather play anybody other than Ohio State in the first round. Now, some people have taken me saying that as some sort of a thing where I'm scared to play Ohio State. Are you scared to play Ohio State? Clemson is not scared to play anybody. There's a difference between being scared and preferring something. And if Ohio State fans are being honest with you, they'd rather play anybody than Clemson in the first round, too. Now, if Georgia wins against LSU, that throws everything off. So we can just go ahead and scratch the whole thing and figure it out from there. Eyeball Control 2K. LSU is going to win it all. Well, that's why they play the game, sir. We're going to find out, won't we? We're going to find out. But you got to get past Georgia first. Or maybe you don't. You probably still get in even if you lose to them. Virginia Tech Bowl. Depends on how many points LSU beats Georgia and Ohio State beats Wisconsin. Yeah, so I agree with that. Harriet says, I'd love to see the Badgers whip Ohio State. I don't think that's going to happen. Connor Reckley says, without bias, who do you think is going to win it all? Well, if I told you Clemson, that would be automatically biased because I'm a Clemson fan, wouldn't it? Here's the thing. I think at the end of the day, more than likely, either Ohio State or Clemson is going to win it all. I'll leave it at that. I think that they're the two most talented and 2 most dominant and complete teams in the country. Not taking anything away from the other teams. It's just the way I feel. Just curious, who's ranked number 2 at the end of the year? Do you mean at the end of the rankings, or at the end after the national championship? LSU hasn't played a defense like Georgia yet. Don't count Georgia out. Yeah, that's exactly what I said. Garrett DeWitt, I said that exact thing earlier. And that's very, very interesting to me to see how that's going to play out when LSU plays a defense as good as Georgia's, because they haven't played a defense as good as Georgia's all year. We going to Atlanta, they said so. All right, I'm not going to read the rest of that. Matthew says, for Uncle Lou's sake, I hope Georgia beats LSU. Well, for Uncle Lou's TV's sake, I'd say I hope they beat them too. Stone Cold Cowboy, I agree about us and Ohio State. I think most people do. Who does Clemson or Ohio State play? I don't know. They play nobody, apparently. I mean, Clemson hasn't played anybody in 10 years. But they still managed to win titles and beat everybody that everyone says is no good, including Alabama, Auburn, Notre Dame, Georgia, Oklahoma. Am I missing anybody? I'm sure I'm missing a lot of teams. Sahas Kandru, wrong rankings. Who's wrong? Whose rankings are wrong? Theirs or mine? If you just stopped in here, those rankings you see where it says this week, that was my projection of what they were going to do. So, yes, they're wrong. 10, 9, and 8 are wrong. If you think their rankings are wrong, join the club. Everybody in the whole country thinks their rankings are wrong. Aaron Shorts in the house. Hey, Garrett, Bama has 17 rings now. How many does your stupid-ass team have? Defend that. So you guys are arguing about rings. JT Thompson, does Virginia have fans? Yeah. That stadium they had last week in Virginia against Virginia Tech was packed. And I have at least, I know this. Is he still in here? There he is. Wahoo Brad 24. He's one. There's a Virginia fan right there. Confirmed sighting of a Wahoo. My father-in-law is a big Virginia fan. He lives up there in Virginia Tech country. I don't know how far he is from Blacksburg. I want to say an hour, maybe. I don't know. Pretty close to Blacksburg, anyway. But he's a huge Cavaliers fan. He's also a huge Clemson fan because of his daughter, who's my wife, went to Clemson. So Clemson always has a chip on their shoulder because of their schedule. Ex-Kent, yeah. Clemson has a chip on their shoulder. They can't control their schedule. That's first of all. And like I told Mark Rogers on the appearance on his show that I did yesterday, Clemson's the only team in the country with 10 Power 5 wins. Clemson goes out and schedules perceived good teams like Texas A&M and Auburn and Georgia and Notre Dame out of conference every single year. And so is it their fault that Texas A&M was bad this year? No. I mean, there's not a single team in the country that's scheduling 10 Power 5 teams a year and beating all of them. Listen, as great as Ohio State is, they have 3 teams on their schedule that aren't even Power 5 teams. Now, their in-conference games are much tougher. Yeah, Penn State, Michigan, Wisconsin are all better than most teams in the ACC. I'll give them that. But what if Wisconsin wasn't? Last year Wisconsin wasn't very good. Michigan, in my opinion, is not very good. I mean, they're above average. They're not terrible. But what if Penn State just fell off the map? Right? Could Ohio State control that? Of course they couldn't. They wouldn't make Ohio State any less of a great team. Listen, Mike Tyson. Is anybody old enough in here? I'm sure some of you are to remember when Mike Tyson was dominating boxing. Okay, so if Mike Tyson went out and beat up an old lady on the street, does that mean that Mike Tyson is not a good fighter because he beats up old ladies? No. It just means he beat up an old lady, and that's what Clemson's been doing for a while now in the ACC, is beating up old ladies. LSU has the best strength of record. Yeah, out of these teams, I would agree. One thing I don't agree with, though, is LSU all of a sudden claiming that they have 10 or 4 top 10 wins, and they're claiming Texas is one of those wins. No, sorry, Texas is no good. Take that one off. You have 3 top 10 wins, if you want to get technical about it. Because if you're claiming Texas as a top 10 win, then as a Clemson fan, I'm claiming Texas A&M as a top 15 win because they were number 12 when we beat them. Carolina jackpot and Uncle Lou on Feinbaum tomorrow. Okay. Do you think Oklahoma's defense is improving after hiring Alex Grinch? It's definitely better than it has been. It's still pretty bad, though. But that's not necessarily his fault. I mean, yes, it's improved. It has improved. I mean, everybody can see that. I mean, last year they were like literally last out of all the teams in Division I football and in most defensive stats. They've massively improved. I don't know if they have the personnel yet to make them look great, but considering what they had last year and what they have this year is basically the same personnel and how much they've improved, I think that's a good sign. If you want to get even more technical, Bama is 12. So that's only 2 top 10. Yeah, well, that's the thing. When these teams fall out of the rankings or drop massively, anytime you beat a team, they're going to drop in the rankings. So if they're 12 or 13 and you beat them, they drop to 17, then it's not a top 15 win anymore. It happens to every team. But for some reason, to some teams, they'll claim what they were whenever you beat them, and other teams will claim what they are now. So, I mean, it's confusing. I don't really need to watch any of these teams play top 10 teams to know that they're good. I can watch Ohio State play, know that they're good. I can watch LSU play, know that they're good. I can watch Clemson play, know that they're good. I can watch Georgia play, know that they're good. They don't have to beat each other for me to know that. But apparently some people do need to see that to know that. Nice Guy TV with a $2 super chat. Dabo is killing the media. Dabo has been killing the media since he took over that job. It's really... Other than beating the SEC, that's his second best trait, killing the media. Yes. Yes, yes, and yes. I wonder where UGA will drop if they lose this weekend. It won't matter. It won't matter. UGA's ranking if they lose this weekend is completely irrelevant. So they'll still be in the top 10, but they'll be off to the Sugar Bowl and out of the playoffs. So they could be 7 or 9 or 10. The result will be the same. They're going to go to the Sugar Bowl if that happens. DJ is good, but Bryce is better. Well, did you see the game the other night? DJ beat Bryce for the championship. Threw like 5 touchdowns and 400 yards. Listen, they're both great players. So, Garrett says that Utah has the best defense in the country. I disagree. They have a great defense. The best? No. Georgia beat LSU 2 SEC team. Yes, I agree. All right, guys, that's it for the live stream tonight. I appreciate you all for stopping in. Again, go to all you Clemson fans, go get your Cycling Out t-shirts, the teespring.com, and the link in the description. Hoodies, t-shirts, V-necks, crew necks, all that good stuff. Also the Bet Now thing if you want to wager on some championship games or some bowl games. I'm definitely going to be wagering on bowl games, not for the Bet Now contest, but personally. Because I have a formula. Last year I killed it. Turned $30 into $700 in the bowl season with my formula. Maybe I'll share my formula with the rest of you so you can all win a bunch of money too, or lose it. Who knows? But anyway, thank you all for joining me. And I'm planning on doing my call-in show this week, maybe either Thursday. I try to do it on Fridays. The Friday night beer stream call-in show. I usually do it on Fridays. We'll have to see. If it's not Friday, it'll be Thursday. I'll let you know. Follow me on Twitter. You can get all the updates about Pigskin Pete and what he's going to do on Twitter at Pete Pigskin. If you're not following me on Twitter, I don't know what you're doing. So do that right now or sooner. Have a great day, everybody. I'll see you soon. Pigskin Pete is checking out.